Section 16 of the handy Cyclopedia of Things Worth Knowing. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Corey Samuel. The handy Cyclopedia of Things Worth Knowing by Joseph Trinenz, published in 1911. Section 16. The name of God in 50 languages. Hebrew, Eleah, Jehovah. Chaldaic, Eliah. Assyrian, Eleah. Syrian and Turkish, Allah. Malay, Allah. Arabic, Allah. Languages of the Magi, Orsi. Old Egyptian, Tut. Modern Egyptian, Tune. Armenian, Tuti. Greek, Theos. Cretan, Theos. Idaean and Dorian, Ilos. Latin, Deus. Low Latin, Dieu. Celtic Gaelic, Dieu. French, Dieu. Spanish, Dios. Portuguese, Deus. Old German, Diet. Provençal, Dio. Low Breton, Don. Italian, Dio. Irish, Dia. Olutu, Deu. German and Swiss, Gott. Flemish, God. Dutch, God. English, God. Teutonic, Goth. Danish and Swedish, good. Norwegian, good. Slav, Buch. Polish, Bog. Polacca, Bung. Lap, Juvenal. Finnish, Jumala. Runic, As. Zembilian, Ass. Pananlian, Istu. Tartar, Magatai. Coromandel, Brahma. Persian, Sire. Chinese, Prusa. Japanese, Gurza. Madagascar, Zana. Peruvian, Pukikamai. Facts about sponges by Albert Hart. Sponges belong to the animal kingdom, and the principal varieties used commercially are obtained off the coasts of Florida and the West Indies. The higher grades are from the Mediterranean Sea, and are numerous in variety. A sponge in its natural state is a different-looking object from what we see in commerce, resembling somewhat the appearance of the jellyfish, or a mass of liver, the entire surface being covered with a thin, slimy skin, usually of a dark colour, and perforated to correspond with the apertures of the canals commonly called holes of the sponge. The sponge of commerce is, in reality, only the skeleton of a sponge. The composition of this skeleton varies in the different kinds of sponges, but in the commercial grades it consists of interwoven horny fibres, among and supporting which are epiculae of siliceous matter in greater or less numbers, and having a variety of forms. The fibres consist of a network of fibrils, whose softness and elasticity determine the commercial quality of a given sponge. The horny framework is perforated externally by very minute pores, and by a less number of larger openings. These are parts of an interesting double canal system, an external and an internal, or a centripetal and a centrifugal. At the smaller openings on the sponge's surface channels begin, which lead into dilated spaces. In these, in turn, channels arise, which eventually terminate in the large openings. Through these channels or canals, definite currents are constantly maintained, which are essential to the life of the sponge. The currents enter through the small apertures and emerge through the large ones. The active part of the sponge, that is, the part concerned in nutrition and growth, is a soft, fleshy mass, partly filling the meshes and lining the canals. It consists largely of cells having different functions, some utilized in the formation of the framework, some in digestion, and others in reproduction. Lining the dilated spaces into which different canals lead are cells surmounted by whip-like processes. The motion of these processes produces and maintains the water currents, which carry the minute food products to the digestive cells in the same cavities. Sponges multiply by the union of sexual product. Certain cells of the fleshy pulp assume the character of ova, and others that of spermatozoa. Fertilization takes place within the sponge. The fertilized eggs, which are called larvae, pass out into the currents of the water, and in the course of 24 to 48 hours they settle and become attached to rocks and other hard substances, and in time develop into mature sponges. The depth of the water in which sponges grow varies from 10 to 50 feet in Florida, but considerably more in the Mediterranean Sea, the finer grades being found in the deepest water, having a temperature of 50 to 57 degrees. Don't be buried alive. From time to time we are horrified by learning that some person has been buried alive after assurances have been given of death. Under these circumstances, the opinion of a rising French physician upon the subject becomes of worldwide interest, for since the tests which have been in use for years have been found unreliable, no means should be left untried to prove beyond a doubt that life is actually extinct before conveying our loved ones to the grave. Dr. Martineau, as reported in the New York Journal, asserts that an unfailing test may be made by producing a blister on the hand or foot of the body, by holding the flame of a candle to the same for a few seconds, or until the blister is formed, which will always occur. If the blister contains any fluid, it is evidence of life, and the blister only that produced by an ordinary burn. If, on the contrary, the blister contains only steam, it may be asserted that life is extinct. The explanation is as follows. A corpse, says Dr. Martineau, is nothing more than inert matter, under the immediate control of physical laws, which cause all liquid heating to a certain temperature to become steam. The epidermis is raised, the blister produced. It breaks with a little noise, and the steam escapes. But if, in spite of all appearances, there is any remnant of life, the organic mechanism continues to be governed by physiological laws, and the blister will contain serous matter, as in the case of any ordinary burns. The test is as simple as the proof is conclusive. Dry blister, death; liquid blister, life. Any one may try it. There is no error possible. How to serve wine. A fine dinner may be spoiled by not serving the proper wine at the proper time and at the proper temperature. A white wine, Sauterne, Riesling, Moselle, etc., should be used from the beginning of the meal to the time the roast or game comes on. With the roast, serve red wine, either claret or Burgundy. Use sparkling wines after the roast. With dessert, serve apricot cordial. Never serve red wine with soup or fish, and never a white wine with game. Storage, temperature, etc. Store your wines in the cellar at 50 to 60 degrees. All bottles should lie flat, so that the cork is continually moist. This rule should be specially observed with sparkling wines. Sparkling wine should be served ice cold. Put the wine on the ice, not ice in the wine. Serve red wine at only about 5 degrees cooler than a dining room. White wine should be about 15 degrees cooler than the temperature of the room. End of section 16.